Did you attend, Honorable Katonto?
Yes, I did.
You attended.
Yes.
First time in a while? Because this time round you're not listening to the orders of your opposition.
Yeah, for sure. But even then, I've always attended.
Oh,
I think it is
level-headed.
I don't know about level, but I think it is an obligation.
Yeah.
Even if we disagree, we listen to each other. So boycott is not one of the things
you are not for boycott.
so enthusiastic about.
Okay. And there was a mention of corruption between civil servants and even new parliamentarians.
You remember, Oscar, when Mr. M7 was hosted by Capital FM. If you remember his opening remarks, were almost the same remarks that he begins his State of Nation address with. I have in the past struggled to find a story in Museveni's speech when I was working as a journalist. Sometimes, especially speeches that he prepares for. Because a State of Nation address, we've discussed it each time it has been delivered. And if you went back, we've said almost the same things. This is meant to be a structured address to deal with the issues that are affecting the country, where the country was a year ago, what were the issues, how have you dealt with those issues since then? Are there issues that emerged along the way? Did you deal with them, or how do you intend to deal with them? In many speeches, Museveni has made a reference to the budget, which is going to be read next week, that this issue emerged, we intend to deal with it this way, and in the budget I'll be either speaking more about it or I'll be providing money to deal with it. This specific address is one of those addresses to NRM caucus meeting, either when he's meeting Muchaka graduates. That's why the introductory part was on NRM ideology, NRM historical mission. He spoke. It sounded like an inaugural speech of someone who is lamenting and then vowing to deal with the problems that are structural. Not someone who's been in power for 38 years, and each action of his is going to be complementary. So he sounded like someone fresh who has come into power, is preaching love Uganda, love Africa. So for 38 years, we've had all those things, Oscar. So this was meant to be a focused speech to deal with issues that are affecting the country. The infrastructure, the road network has broken down. Security on the street, now people can't be sure whether you carry a phone or you don't know who's going to hit you next. The employment, the poverty, and then deal with the capacity of the state to deal with these things. You will listen to the budget, and I hope they will not lie. If you listen to the budget, we have for the first time lost capacity to finance our own budget. Some people are speaking about $1.5 billion as revenue being collected at the time he took over power. His projection next financial year is that we will correct, and this is projection because we don't go beyond 26 trillion. We will correct 31 trillion, but we have the debt that is due to be paid is 34 trillion. This is the first time. We have never had a debt payment that exceeds the tax correction for the first time, at least since I have been following. And that's the state of the nation. We are highly indebted. We have no capacity to repay our debts. So even if you cry, Oscar, from morning to evening that Museveni should fix the roads in Kampala, he doesn't have capacity to do so. In my constituency, people are supposed to be compensated to give way for the southern bypass and Ginger Expressway. We borrowed the money last financial year from African Women Bank, I think more than $600 million, to construct the Ginger Expressway. But we don't have money to compensate people for that work to start. And in many other cases. So Mr. Museveni I have said elsewhere that this sounded like a coursework. You know, Museveni taught at a college in Arusha. Moshi, yes. When they came to attack Idi Amin, and after being beaten, he went and settled there and started teaching because Nyerere had told them, "You stop fighting, you're causing me problems." So this sounded like one of those lectures in a class or a coursework for one of his students, and he's deliberate because Museveni is intelligent, so he knew I can't speak about these issues, but I can speak about others. So let me speak about the others, and he did. Now preaching Love Uganda, NRM ideology, Pan-Africanism, because you see these things he should have been reporting. If he actually wanted to speak about them. This is what it was last year, this is what it is, this is what it was so many years ago. But it was just preaching, general preaching. The only thing that I was happy about, we used to listen to Museveni sometimes 2.5 hours. But I think what the age has done, his speech was about 1 hour this time. I don't think he now has capacity to go beyond that. And that's why part of the MPs were sleeping. And many of the people listening to his speech.
Do you think it's his age, or as Edgar here says, it is the age of his audience? They can no longer manage more than an hour.
Even his age.
The attention span is...
Because you see, when you are delivering a State of Nation address, Oscar, one time we were with Museveni at a function, midway he had to run to his toilet, which he moves with. I don't think during a State of Nation address you will stop midway and then you run to... It is not possible. So you have to fit within your body demands that you give a speech and after certain you stop. So one time I listened to Museveni, the speech was nearly 3 hours. And he was not speaking about anything that we thought he was going to speak. So he was speaking about everything else, the creation of man at Ugobya Mugenyi, the what. And then the real issue that he was meant to address, he gave it about 2 minutes. So the age has also helped a bit to stop him from lecturing for many hours. And I saw that I was watching.
Okay. We welcome Honorable Lydia Wanyoto Mutende Tugang. Most welcome to... So, Honorable Katonto, there's Nora Oraga on X, formerly Twitter, says to Ssemujju, and just because the president does not talk about what you expected, it doesn't necessarily mean his address was irrelevant. Longevity in power necessarily means the president and party in power repeat themselves in a SONA. But then earlier she had said a SONA means to inform the nation about its present economic, political and social condition. It is a vehicle for the president to summarize the accomplishments and plans of their programs of government, both for a particular year until the end of their term of office, which seems to agree with what Edgar was saying. So, Honorable Katuntu, how did you perceive the State of a Nation address?
I think we don't have to start with how I perceived it. We need to start with the Constitution itself. What does the law say? Under Article 101, there are 2 presidential addresses provided for. Article 101 provides that the president shall, at the beginning of each session of Parliament, deliver to Parliament an address on, and I want to emphasize this word, on the state of the nation. On the state of the nation.
Not State of Africa.
Then 2, there is another address also provided for by this Constitution. The President may also, in consultation with the Speaker, address Parliament from time to time on any matter of national importance. So, the Constitution provides for 2 addresses. One, a mandatory one, and the word used shall at the beginning of each session address Parliament on the state of the nation. So, what is envisaged under this particular provision of the Constitution is the president should be addressing us on what the state is today, but not out of nowhere, because he last addressed us last session of Parliament. So that should be the baseline. When he last addressed us, what happened? We gave the president, for example, how much money have 52 trillion. How has he utilized it? Because you have to link the state of the nation to the budget or to the resources. The state of the nation, Oscar, is about accountability of the last or the ending financial year. And then the budget is about the following financial year. A wish list, as they say. So we made a very big mistake, and Parliament really, I don't always I don't debate the general debates in Parliament. There are many people who should have the opportunity to do that. So I don't, every State of the Nation address is debated by Parliament. So I leave that to many of my colleagues. Now, this time is different. I intend to make some contribution because we need to guide this country. The president cannot come and give a general address. That's not state of the nation, on the state of the nation. That one is provided for under the sub-article 2, which talks about any other address. They can come and talk about all issues, what Ssemujju is talking about. All those ones, you can address them under sub-article 1012. Article 1011 is about the state, on the state of the nation. Where is it today? And I'm telling you, my own appreciation of this particular provision is that we need to talk about, for example, the economy, talk about sectors of the economy. This is what health is. This is what works is. This is what education is. This is what employment is from last year. That's what we expect. However, in my view, honest view, this was purely like any other address. Because if I ask you, Oscar, what did he talk about education, since you are an educationalist?
That he's going to fight corruption.
And he did say that.
What did he talk about health? What did he talk about infrastructure?
We are coming up with vaccines.
In infrastructure, talking about vaccines. So I think we need to. And the presidential speech writers really should do this country or the president a favor and write a proper speech. Because the president employs people who are supposed to be doing, we pay them, who are supposed to be doing these things for the president. You don't write a general speech for a president on the state of the nation. It's not correct. Because for us as Parliament, we even invited our colleagues, our sister parliaments, to come and attend this function. Many speakers came. And then eventually we went into general issues about Uganda, about Pan-Africanism, which are pertinent, I must say. They are really pertinent, but they're not supposed to be part of the state of the nation address. And I think that's where, as Parliament now, Ibrahim, we should be talking about a law that helps the president to define what the state of the nation should be. Otherwise, as of now, last year he tried to do a little bit better, Oscar. He sort of went into some of those issues. Then he has gone back to his usual general speeches, and quite unfortunate. We need to enact a law that defines what the president should be addressing on the state of the nation address.
Okay. Lydia.
I was in Kololo on Thursday. I took the option of being physically present and honoring the invitation of the speaker. It is the speaker that invited me. So I would like to thank the speaker and the institution of Parliament
Parliamentary session
for inviting me. So yeah, so I attended. I want to agree that, before I went to Kololo on Thursday, I looked up my copy of the speech of the nation address for last year. I think the structure of the one of last year, I want to agree that is more coherent, in line with the policy statements and guidelines. It is sector arranged in paragraphs. You can look for where you want to find education or health or even infrastructure, and there was that flow for the last year's statement. This year's statement, it was actually, the time was short, but it was the text, I think, is longer. It is a booklet, but it was not structured like that last year. So I think what I can say is that that's all is not lost. This is a very well listened to talk show. Next Thursday, I've seen already they are working on invitations on budget speech. The president will have an opportunity to speak again to the country. Maybe he can now be helped to bridge those gaps, because there are some areas that we are really glaring, in my opinion. You cannot speak to a country whose younger people are screaming of opportunities, and you do not mention anything about young people and opportunities and employment. And there are areas that are so specific to young people, like sports. We are hosting AFCON. We are doing a lot of sports. So we are doing a lot of work in the sports sector, or even in entertainment. Last evening I was watching a program on film people, film stars and film. That's a very big entertainment area that attracts young people. For a country that should be proud of its young people and a big population, our speeches, our anchor, our direction should be on how to direct the country in harnessing and utilizing young energy, but also skills. And that should be the rhythm of every country, our countries, because we are different. Oscar, countries are crying, they don't have population, they don't have young people. They have the aging population. Yeah. Uganda has a young population, average age dynamic, 26. Yes, dynamic, but also largely skilled now. And they are all over the place. So I think that even Parliament, I speak because I have now a copy of the Parliamentary Directory. Over 80% of Uganda's parliamentarians are a reflection of our country. They are between 40 and 45. There are very few who are beyond 50. And that speaks again to the age and the energy of our country, and they need direction. You want to say something?
Related to that, because
yes.
She's chairperson of the NRM Women's League.
Yeah, she's
81% of the voters in 2026 elections
yes.
will be between the age of 18 and 30. Yeah. And so far from the statements we are hearing from the likes, I'm surprised she's. But not so surprising, because she's my former student.
Yes, I'm your student, yes.
Maybe I imparted the skills.
Yes, you did. You taught me.
The statements you hear from public officials are so detached from that part of the population. Yet they're the majority.
There's a listener here, Right Yes Charlie, on Twitter, saying that Namfi, but I should tell Right Yes Charlie, the way Namfi is looking at the other guy as a girl, for once she's looking at her approvingly.
Well, yeah, guys are girls.
It was actually going to be my first point, that for a population whose 80% is below the age of 40, that conversation, that address did not address anything or have anything to do with them. And for me, that is a shame.
So maybe you are the ones who need the
It just sounded like a conversation between two 86-year-olds.
So I keep telling the members of Parliament representing the youth that you've been overtaken by events. It's as if it's about to age, because there are members of Parliament who are younger than the MPs who represent the youth. So our country should really focus on this God-given, because you cannot go to a factory and manufacture people, but we've grown a young population in the 21st century who have mostly skilled. And the urban centers are also growing. So for me, I think that the speech or the country's economy or the progression of the state of Uganda's affairs should really focus on what the majority of the country looks like, so that we speak focused on that population. Okay. And like Iti has said, the countdown for the next, because this is about also governance, then the countdown to the next election is just 17 months. The presidential nominations and parliamentary, who are the flagships, are September next year. The calendar is out. So this should actually be the most sober national address, because next year people will be running up and down to fix their nominations.
Okay.
So I hope that we can, it's not all lost. I do not think that we need a law, but please, if you want to do a law, you can go ahead and do a law. I think it's an administrative matter that they can reorganize and look at the national address.
Thank you,
then
Lydia.
other addresses can actually now attract the history of our country, where we want to go, because we cannot speak about love. Love is so emotional, and it should be spontaneous. That you don't have to tell me to love, really.
When you're gonna
if I love ET, it doesn't have to tell me love me. I told the non-verbal.
I love you.
The non-verbal should be so
Can we
obvious.
play what has love got to do with it?
So
Nafi, you're on
to
microphone
address
now.
them. It's
NRM.
not easy being NRM.
This time round,
It is a hard job.
This time
You-
round,
do
my
you see
brother, you
your
need to
comrades
deliver
here?
a State of the Nation address. You find?
Nafi, you're on microphone. Then Robert will come on after.
Oscar, I think you've seen so many jokes about the candidates standing in the United States and their age, and the problems that come with that kind of thing when you have leadership. In the case of the United States, of course, the question is competence, especially when it comes to Biden, health-wise, and the ability to go through the next 4 years competently managing a superpower like the United States. But the difference between the United States and Uganda is their average age is quite higher than our average age here in Uganda. I think the president's address yesterday has highlighted what is going on in this country. Even when you look at the budget and the programs and the policies by government, and at this point the government policies are more making up stuff as you go along than well thought out policies. There is nothing that has been programmed for the youth, that has been planned for the youth. Listening to the president, and I apologize, I was busy with the Uganda Law Society tax symposium, so I listened to the speech afterwards, and the only reason I listened was because I was coming to the capital gang, but still.
Thought there would be a tax component.
And these are the things that he should be addressing. I mean, he's just been in yes.
Cephas Birungi,
Yes.
one of the most respected tax
Yes.
Consultants in the
Yeah.
country.
he gave an apt, he captured the situation aptly. That
Exactly.
I've
We
said it
want
here
to
before.
apply the
21st
20th
century
solution
solution in the 19th century setting.
Yes.
Which I've already said, we are primordial.
Yes.
We are primordial.
And the thing with us is that, like I've said, we make up things as we go along. We see a new idea, IFRS, tax stamps, and then we bring it, and we do not adjust our homestead to the new ideas that we are trying to incorporate, and then you get a pushback, and then you think that when you come with the military, you will then competently deal with that pushback. That is no longer the case today. I mean, the president the other day was talking to the traders.
Yes.
He did not address. This was an opportunity for him to address the tax issues in the country, to address the traders. Because when that discussion ended, he seemed not happy with the little opportunity was given to address them. Now he's had, over 20 days to go and think. And this was one of the opportunities. Instead of going on and on about Kwame Nkrumah, and these young people don't even know, most of these 25-year-old Bairivi do not even know Kwame Nkrumah.
They know, but it just doesn't appeal to them.
Because they have so much more going on. It's not solving their problem. And if you keep telling them the economy is growing, this speech sounded like Moses Piarohanga wrote it, because when he comes here, he's usually out of touch with reality, like that whole speech. Like it's delusional. When you start telling us there is a surplus
You're being fair to Moses. It's not delusional.
Hello, Moses, sending you my greetings. But he usually goes off.
And mimics his boss.
and
I think we're big and fair to Moses.
Have you read the 48 laws of power? Law number 1, do not try to upstage your boss. And Moses follows that to the letter. So kudos to him. But it sounds like Moses and a couple of other NRM, no, I won't use the word stooges. Let me see. NRM,
That one.
not psychopaths. That one, like those people who follow NRM. it's sad to think that the president can come and spend 2 hours. And trust me, I don't think, back in the day, I've said this before, when the president was addressing, especially before the budget, when they were addressing the nation, every single radio station was tuned into that downtown. People listened because they knew that the president's speech is going to touch on their lives. That
I remember when I reminded you the COVID speeches,
Yeah.
and I was telling you we were watching the president,
for the
minute
first time,
by
and
minute.
he reveled in it.
Because it was touching
but
your
now,
lives.
it's not the same. Like if the president goes on and on, and even someone like us who have to listen, because we're going to give our opinions on it over the weekend, you get tired of listening, and then you have to switch off, take a break, and have to switch on again, and still there is nothing he's saying that is relevant. I mean, you can't go on and on about surpluses in the sugar sector, iron, and this, and the factories you've created, and the people in your country do not even cannot afford this sugar. So how do you balance that? Here you have
But
sugar
that was
surplus.
a positive.
That was a positive one.
It is a positive, but look. If you have surpluses and you truly have surpluses, then people in Kabyong should be able to afford the sugar.
Yes, and that's the point. For
Yes,
example,
if you have surplus milk, then why do the people
Today-
in Kabyong do not have this milk
today
to drink?
we produce about 1,300 megawatts of electricity,
Yes.
and we
Excess.
use just about 800.
700, 800.
There is surplus, but only less than 20% in Uganda
26%.
Have access,
have access.
to this
So the
electricity.
surplus is not because there is a surplus. Actually,
No.
people can't afford it.
Exactly.
You go to the villages, they don't consume
So
sugar.
for
and you
me,
say you
his
have a
address
surplus.
should be addressing that gap between the.
But to me,
yes.
Oscar,
Just one second.
just 1 second. You see, if an issue like that comes up, then we
Yes.
debate it.
Yes.
Because that's the state of the nation.
Yes.
So to me, I actually give him a credit to it. I give
No,
him
no,
credit.
no.
So do I. So
I
do
will
I.
give him a
And let me
credit
tell
if
you
he
why,
wasn't
because
just
it is the
mentioning
state
it.
of the nation
Yes.
that we are producing this. And now the issue that comes out, especially when you are going to address now in the budget,
Yeah.
is how are we going
exactly.
to allocate resources to make the situation better by providing more power?
Exactly.
That should
For
be the
me,
real issue.
that is the real issue. Exactly, that he did.
A tweet from Alan Kasuja,
Okay.
quoting the president. He says, I now have proof of a corruption racket from the Ministry of Finance to Parliament. And then he says, we are going to crush them.
Yes.
I will not grant them amnesty.
I want to grant them.
He wants.
Yes.
With the crushing of corruption, Uganda is unstoppable. Okay, and Alan Kasuja says that was one of Mzei's most outstanding attributes on strategic patience. In this case, however, it has taken him too long to find the evidence and to act on it. Nafi, Abdu, and yourself. Go on.
Oscar. Defending NRM reminds me of a gentleman who was being interviewed on TV to defend his brother who is a serial killer, and at some point he said, I am not here to defend, I don't also understand my brother. So I think NRM people should learn to get to that point where you say, I also did not understand my leader. Lydia tried, but she went soft on it. But Oscar, before you interjected, I was saying the state of the nation,
And you have 2 minutes
addressed
because I'm going for a
corruption
break.
and nothing about the Mabati situation, nothing about
Not about Mabati.
but that is the state. The state we have exactly.
Starting from the lowest
But right
MC
now,
one.
the state right now, exactly. But you see, the state right now is that we have ministers who stole Mabati, we have leaders who are thieves, we have leaders. Yes, these are things he should have addressed, because these are if he wants anybody to listen to him next time or next week when he comes to tell us about the budget, then he needs, because at the end of the day, the problem with our president is that he forgets that he's our servant. And I think he's come out and told and reminded us he's not. But unfortunately, I will tell him he's not a king, he's our servant. He is here to serve us and do things in accordance to what is good for us. So when he stands on that podium and refuses deliberately to address things that he should be addressing and covers his head in the sand then he does a disservice to the whole nation. So Oscar, for me, if he was actually addressing surpluses in any sector, then he needs to have told us why. For example, sugar in surplus was at the beginning of the year 9,000 shillings. Because if you have anything in surplus, then sugar, because Brazilian sugar comes from Brazil and gets here at 1,500 shillings, and yet you have a country producing surplus sugar, then he needs to explain to us the gap between the surplus and a normal Uganda not being able to afford the sugar. And then in the budget, he can tell us. Then he also needs to explain to us why, despite the fact that we have all these factories that he has talked about and we are doing bubu, why are they headed by Indians and Chinese mostly?
Is the censure still running or has it died?
When the other day I saw some elements of Janet Kataha signing, I knew, because I know she personally brought them to Parliament. So when they sign, and that's why Oscar...
And those people want Ssemujju to sign. What aspect is that?
They want,
because you want anti-corruption crusade.
There are those. I didn't know actually that my signature is this important.
Yeah, you are an anti-corruption.
No, I said I didn't know.
That is the sign we see.
But Oscar, I gave a reason that is personal. For me, even if Mpuuga had been convicted, I said I will not participate. To compare me with M7 is just being funny. I am not stopping the process. People continue signing. Even today or tomorrow they will sign. I am only saying this is a human. I'm staying away. And my staying away does it convict or not convict? No, the trouble with M7 is interfering with the processes. If he was leaving processes to go ahead, I wouldn't be faulting him. I am not interfering. I am not interfering with the process.
Any process.
Oscar,
you are just saying personally you are not.
You somewhere if you are in trouble tomorrow. So you want me to come and participate if you are being linked? No, I cannot. I will not. For you, if you can. For you, if you can, I wish you well. But me, once a friend is involved, I'll declare. Even in Parliament is provided for.
You used a bad example of somewhere, but now we hear you.
In the Parliament, by the way, if you read our rules and you go to the code of conduct, you will be told where you have a conflict of interest, please declare it and stay away. And I declared and I stayed away. I don't know why people will want me, even after that disclosure,
come to you, Edgar,
to go ahead.
So this censure, the censure, is it dying? And when it dies, shall we blame Ssemujju as well for its death?
For Ssemujju's case, my late husband contested as an independent in Mbale municipality when I was a commissioner of the NRM Metro Commission. Now the members of the NRM wanted me to go on a platform in Mbale and campaign for the flag bearer, and I'm like, now when I leave the podium, whose house do I go to? So I told them, I'm not going to campaign for the flag bearer. I am conflicted. The independent is my husband. I was crucified like Ssemujju, but I think that I'm not very far from that Ssemujju. So how do you now go and campaign for flag bearer? And then your husband is the independent. Then you go to the same house in the evening.
It could even be beyond the house. You go to the same bed.
So that is that.
This is a morning show.
So Ssemujju, I don't know that that is the same. I just
Kunsonga sub-region has a precedent.
Because in many
MP for Buzaya was the interpreter for President Museveni. And President Museveni was decampaigning the wife. And he was using adjectives and he was interpreting in the exact manner
in the soga.
And I can tell you the consequences of that were dire. They up to today.
We don't want to go into the details. I understand what you
brought it up.
So that's what happened to me. I could not.
And in that,
so I didn't go for the campaign, and I paid a heavy price at that time.
I have not mentioned any names here. They are elders in the society. They are elders in society. One went ahead to serve as Minister of State for Finance, for land.
I have not heard from parliamentary commissioners, the four of them at all. But Mpuuga was on NBS Morning Breeze. But I have heard more from Sechikubo. So I would be unfair to listen to Sechikubo and say the motion is in this, but those who are quiet could be
these people will then speak.
Like E.T. has said, You never know what those quiet four are doing because we are not hearing such
Robert. Let's go to Robert Ssemujju.
Yeah,
will the censure motion succeed or
the
not succeed?
censure motion is descending into a fist fight, and
because they need just the 30 signatures.
yeah, I think they will get the numbers because there are teams, there are cliques, there are groups. We see.
I wish you could tell us who those are.
And the narrative is running away from what the public is seeing. The public is very angry, by the way. And it is up to those in Parliament now to either wash their hands off the public or listen and go and debate properly. And that's what I wish is members of Parliament agree for the motion to come. Then everybody clears his name on the floor of Parliament. Otherwise, history will not judge these parliamentarians well. It is better they go and everybody brings the facts on the table. If it was in the budget, yes, it was in the budget. Was it debated? Yes, it is debated. If it is was it necessary? Are the amounts moderate?
As compared to what?
As compared to relative to
Kampala Road.
Maybe to you can't compare it to the general public salaries and emoluments. But I mean, is the figures are they justifiable? In a accounts or something, there is what we call I'm forgetting substantial. Substantialism. I mean, it is when Parliament sits down. In fact, the two groups can even sit down and say, let's resolve this matter like this. For the sake of the status of Parliament, because we need Parliament, even after this 11th Parliament, we shall need Parliament in the 20th Parliament. So, for us to go ahead and leave the stature of Parliament in one piece, and people still have hope in Parliament, they should manage it in a mature way. And I know the Katuntus are there. We have passed through certain crises and we have managed them.
And
at the end of
Katuntu has warned his members, not warning, guided his members of the committee on rules and discipline to say don't go there because the matter might come to our committee. Yes. So
easier.
So I think the best way, the best way is for the seniors. Is the seniors prevail over. Okay. Maybe the newcomers to say this excitement is not good for this country.
Namfi, has the censure died or it will continue?
Oscar, unfortunately, for these people, just this noise is happening at the same time.
There's a tweet here. Listeners are very... So Greens can see messages. When the president never opened his eyes widely and repeated the word corruption while giving his State of Nation address, I concluded that the censure motion is moving into miscarriage for God and my country.
Of course. And the irony of it, of all the corruption that is going on, and there is a lot of it. I mean, you open a New Vision daily and there are 5 stories of government officials stealing money from investors, forging things.
Now the whole Minister of Finance is now...
Exactly. So when we choose one single thing to make so much noise about, then that also begs the question, when we even have a president who is telling us he knows the corrupt individuals but is not listing them. So it's a farce, and Ugandans are not fooled by even this censure motion. I particularly am not impressed by it, whether it goes anywhere or not, because even the person who started it could not sit here and tell us that if these people are found guilty, this will happen. We decided to hide behind, let's first finish this because the procedure is this, let's first finish this. If someone starts speaking from both sides of the mouth, then it becomes very difficult for us to even trust them. So for me, because it comes on the backdrop of noises of both the public coming out with an outcry against the taxes, and then we see on the other hand government officials vulgarly dividing the little that we have among themselves for no good reason. On the one hand, you're strangling the poor Muiribi downtown to give you on the street, to give you the mega little profit that they have from their business. On the other, you're already getting the people who are earning the most in the country, and they sit among themselves and they divide this money among themselves with impunity, and we all know nothing is going to be done to them. So none of us here sits deceived, because if we couldn't even fire every single hearing of any corruption issue in the last 5 years, nobody has served any punishment, nobody has retired from their position, nobody has been brought to book. So what makes us think that this is going to be any different? So we, the members of the public, have a cynical view of this. Now back to my brother Ssemujju, who I absolutely love. Mm-hmm. There are better ways of doing things. This is why you see in other countries the politicians have PR machines. If you're going to go down a road of this is my friend, then there are ways of doing it. I remember listening to the Senate hearing of Mark Zuckerberg, and I think he has the best PR and the best lawyer and the best coach. He sat there, and at every given point, he did not deny, he did not admit, he remained neutral. His face remained neutral like a robot. And to date, from that Senate hearing, there is nothing you can hold against him. Ssemujju could have done this better. So he was economical
with the truth.
Exactly.
Which Ssemujju has not done.
And let me tell you,
or you could have been vague like Kasule Sebunya style.
Yes. And as I throw my stones at Ssemujju, I realize that in some countries we even have the Fifth Amendment, where you cannot, you are allowed to abstain from something if it is going to incriminate you, or you're trying to save yourself or your morality or whatever. Ssemujju could have told us, I recuse myself because I'm conflicted and I have decided to stay away. Make one statement. I'm coming.
That's what he has said.
I'm coming. Make one statement, stick to it, refer to it at every given point. But right now, as people who follow him and admire him,
Ssemujju, no. What are her fees? And I sign her up for you.
Listen.
I'm seeing a very senior editor getting a lesson on communications from a lawyer.
Should realize that at this point he's not just Ssemujju. There is more at stake for us who sit and listen to him, admire him, trust him to go out there and fight for us. Because when this ends and he's tainted, who then is going to fight for us? Because look at people like Katuntu here. Sebunya, this fellow here from NRM, and Wanyoto, they pick and choose the times they fight for us. And yet Ssemujju, for the last 10 years, has gone there, stuck it out, and fought for us. So when we lose credibility of a person like that, it is a huge blow to us, the opposition.
For your information, we had a young girl here on a show like you, Agatha Atuhaire. She was also crucifying Ssemujju for not saying one sentence.
Exactly. Okay. So even when he chooses, I'm just telling Ssemujju, even when he chooses not to say one sentence, there is a way he has to do it so that we retain him as a credible oppositional force in the opposition sector, who then the next time President Museveni is recusing himself from dealing with his son or his children, then Ssemujju can come with the authority and credibility to speak out against corruption.
Well.
Because when you continue like this, Ssemujju, you're losing credibility, and we can't afford to lose that.
Abdu.
That's it. Don't comment on this.
Abdu is you've had Honorable Abdu Katuntu. You've been away from Gangewell, so you've missed even the one sentence. So what is your one sentence? Is this censure mode dying? Censure motion dying, or will they get their signatures? I can ask you a safe question.
Well, I thought a person like you should be not like a moderator on the street. You should know the person you are speaking to.
I like also like to be moderator of a street.
And that's where we play different leagues. But
mine is very careful.
Answer
for
your question.
Yes.
You know very well I'm the chairman of Rules Discipline of Parliament. Any issue concerning misbehavior of any member of Parliament is potentially a matter before me. I have directed, not even asked, I've directed all members on the Rules Committee not to get involved in this process. In case it ends up on our committee. And if they do, and I hear some have done, I will not allow them to participate in the proceedings of that. And that's where I end.
So you think that you will end up in the disciplinary committee?
I don't know.
It's a very good response.